So this is all working now. I had to redo the my splice on the port side, which ironically was the one side I didn't really leave myself a proper service loop. So I hope I don't have to do that again. I wound up having to solder them because I had two different gauges of cable joining together. You can't really get away with that with a crimp. I should know better. Another problem I have with this gauge is that the little backlight for the gauge itself, once you hook this thing up to the DC bus, it's on all the time, kind of like the backlight on the AC panel. So what I've done is, because that's provided with power, the light bulb, by a little jumper from there, ordinarily what I've done is I've taken another lead. I took the jumper out and I took another lead up into the hole where the cables for the compass light feed in and tied it in, just the hot leg, just tied it in with the hot leg for the compass light bulb. The grounds will be joined together in the electrical locker anyway. So now I will only have backlighting for my fuel gauge when I turn on my nav lights, which include, on that bus, includes the compass light. Problem solved. I gotta figure out how to bed this. I guess I should use Sikaflex, or maybe I got some rubber. I'll figure something out. But I'm just gonna button it up for now, dry, and dress everything underneath and continue with this electrical saga. Port, starboard. I love it. It's about noon and I am pretty much done dressing everything except this. I still gotta do that. Got my fuel gauge panel working and dressed in place. I've got all my vent hoses dressed. I did a little more with my exhaust stack to get it more where it should be and get it just barely off the tank. It is touching that bilge pump outlet, but I can reposition that. I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's not real hot at that point. It's not a worry. Yeah, but we're looking pretty good in here. I'm gonna have to tidy up that drain hose for the ice box, but it's fine for now. I am glad that I'm done back here until something goes wrong, because I'm tired of working back here. It's no fun at all. It looks like a lot of space, but it's not. Imagine getting your body through here to work to get up there where I had to drive screws and stuff. I'm not complaining or anything. Once you're in here, it's not too bad, but you can't roll over in here. You can't, even if you're crouching or kneeling, you can't turn around. You got to come back out, turn yourself around, and then get back in. It's fun. I don't have the outside labeled yet, but you basically have 6 switches. Each one also is a circuit breaker. But just about everything on here will also have a fuse downstream of it. We've got Navcom, which will energize that bus for chart plotter, depth sounder, radios, etc. Each of these, I believe, is a 15 amp breaker, which is going to be more than enough. We got our running lights here, our port and starboard lights forward. When I switch this on, that will send power to this side of this. All these reds going into the onboard side of this thing are the feeds from the panel. Duh. And then from there they will go to the world via this or via direct lines. Running lights, steaming light. I don't have an all-round light. I'm not going to get one. You don't need one. Some people will tell you you must have an all-round light on a sailboat. At anchor, you do. It doesn't have to be at the top of the mast. I'm sure as hell I'm not going to put a light at the top of the top mast. I've never seen such a thing in my life. And it's not required by any law as far as I know. I've got a switch. Even though I won't have an installed anchor light, I'm going to have that plug on deck somewhere, probably near the starboard running light. And then I have the utility lights, even though they're not exterior, will be controlled from this switch. It's just more convenient than having to open any of these doors and have a switch. There used to be a switch here, a pull switch to turning on some kind of, there was one for, I don't know if they ever had a light in the engine room. I wired the engine room lights to that originally, but I don't like that. It'd be nice to just have it out here, click it on and off. When that's switched on, it'll light up this locker and the engine bay. And I don't know, who knows what else, wherever else I need it. I might run LEDs somewhere else for that sort of thing. It's just going to be super convenient. As for interior lighting, this guy is just wired directly to the DC bus. It doesn't even have a fuse. It really should fuse it somehow. I'm not going to think about that right now. I'll make it fit somewhere. I mean, nothing really fits in here anyway, right? This was a crazy idea, but I like it. I'm curious what you all think. It made it very difficult to install, but I think it's going to be very good for operation. You don't have to go, I'm not going to have to go in here much except to turn these two things on and off, really. Troubleshooting, it'll be a little tricky. Once the AC panel, the back of the AC panel is covered up, I'll feel a little more confident about shoving my upper body in here as needed. I also have lots of room. I can have 1, 2, similar, what is this, a type 24? A group, excuse me. I think this is a group 24. I forgot already, but the same format, but in lithium iron phosphate. Have 1 there, easy to get at. There will be somehow an inverter charger, probably where that is. I'll get rid of that guy and put a Victron or similar in there. There will be a solar charge controller somewhere back there. I'd love to create a tool cubby. We don't look at that. Don't look at that. I'm gonna fix that. Don't worry. I'd love to have some kind of tool cubby in here, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Even though technically there's room, I'll have to go back or up. I'd rather not do anything with this sort of shelf right now because of the work I have to do there, and I got to paint this shelf area. I did run the AC across it, but I'll probably make a little box that covers that up for safety and aesthetics. And that's it for today. Not for this episode, I don't think, but for today. What freaking day is it? Thursday. I've been here 3 days. This is the first day I started shooting anything. We're going to do a lot of this tomorrow. Might try to finish it, but I'm also going to, I got to check the weather again. I might have to split my time with some painting and varnishing. Yeah, varnishing. I've got the gaff and the tiller here. I figured it made more sense to just finish them here with the spell of dry weather we had. Epoxy both of them, kind of made a mess of it. I'm going to have to sand them down. I think rather than put more epoxy on them, I'm just going to start throwing varnish on them. It's going to be great. It's going to be perfect for this boat. And going to get some anti-fouling tomorrow. Going to go spend like $800 on paint, which I've never done in my life. It's early afternoon, and it's time to get back into the panel. But before I do, this just arrived. I had a second larger roll bilge pump that was ancient, and it was working just great up until I did my final test after redoing all the wiring to both bilge pumps. And then it decided to let me know that I should just replace it instead of being cheap about something so important. This is a Model 3, I think, identical to the one that's in there, which is about 2 years old. I installed that one before I moved the boat because there was only the one old bilge pump in there, although it was set up for 2. So let's get to that. All right. So you can see how this is set up. I wonder if those lights will help at all. Yeah, I don't need a light. Because of the nature of this this bilge, you've got the keel, the deadwood of the keel, basically separating the port and starboard sides of the bilge. It's not really limber between, and that's why I've had some rainwater get in recently, because that new aft deck has not 100% taken up. I also have to finish touching up my sealant around the edges of it. And you can see there's a little bit more on that side where the port bilge pump should be. The float switches I have set up so that before the water slops over the deadwood, it'll discharge. That's kind of how it was before. First thing I got to do is take out the old mounting plate. This isn't the ideal setup. I've got a pretty hard radius bend there, but that's the last hard bend in the run to the through hull. There's also check valves in here, which rule does not recommend unless you're likely to have backflow from the discharge one. And they seem, so far it seems to work fine. It doesn't have any trouble pushing water out past the check valve, although they are kind of old. Like thicker to smaller, you want to kind of keep such things symmetrical in there. Right, we're grabbing a line from the switch. We got the brown from the switch, brown from the pump, and the orange from the panel to split our manual leg. Right, cool. Now we have a cutoff, and we have a zip tie for some reason, and we have our ground done. We just need to establish our manual or automatic from the panel. Where's the brown? Oh God, I thought did we like that? I think I can make that work. I'm not tinning these. Some of this wire is tinned already, some is not. I started off tinning these for the crimps, but really I found in general, in my former life, that was not really a requirement because we weren't typically dealing with vibration, and they were static systems. But for small gauge crimps like this, it just kind of gets in the way. It's almost impossible in this field setting, you know, to solder it, to tin it perfectly the way they do in the factory. Like to have a pot of solder and dip it in there or something. It's just not practical, and it's really not that important. And it can create problems. And if you can't solder it perfectly, if you get a bunch of like a blob of solder in there and you try to crimp it, even if you manage to make the crimp happen, it's going to be hard on one side and soft on the other, and it's going to ultimately be a weak crimp. And you certainly don't want to just solder these. Anywhere there's a lot of vibration, even though this isn't a power boat per se, anywhere there's vibration or even constant like that, the solder will eventually break. There's a reason why you will not find anything soldered except on a circuit board in an aircraft. You will not find anything, any connection soldered. Everything's crimped or screw terminals. My gut tells me I should test this again before I go any further. Coolness and a manual port. Nice. So we just gotta, bam, put that one right there. First I'm gonna fold it over and bag it. Yeah, I'll go over that away. What did I use? I used one of those. These are cool. These are very handy. You drive a screw through it, if you have a screw. Do I have a screw? Now I got a screw. Always that little bronze screw. Perfect. Pretty good. Is it too high now? Do you want to go that way? Okay, that'll work. I'm going to stand it up to minimize the effects of water. There's no plate that goes down on this. engine covers, just kind of surround it. It should be out of harm's way during most operations. And it'll be a lot easier to clean. I don't know if I might look to see if I have an image of what this was like when I bought the boat. Just wires, every tangle. There was just a tangle of wires here. Let me double check that, make sure I made that hose clamp tight. Yeah, it's plenty good and tight. Still a little too close to the flow switch. Okay. Voila. We got two bilge pumps that can be remotely triggered. Port. Hello, port. Port. Starboard. I have the starboard ones. Oh, that's right, I only have the one fuse left. That's the next thing I gotta do, is I gotta dig around some more. I thought I bought more 10 amp glass fuses, but I gotta look. Oh my gosh, the sun just came in that porthole. Wow, ouch. Another one of those days. I ran out of clear shrink tube of the appropriate size, so I'm using this packing tape to cover my labels. Got 5 of these to bring up and over the doorway to this inline fuse panel for all these various small lights. I'm going to give each of them a, I don't know, 1 or 3 amp fuse. I'm just going to make a bunch of them, label one end, put a temp label on the other end, connect them all here, and start dressing them back. Just to clarify what's going on, this 8 conductor bundle is all for lighting that's going to be forward. Stuff up the mast, running lights and steaming light. I have a masthead light that has a deck light, downward deck light, and a 260-degree steaming light. There's also going to be a disconnect out there, a waterproof disconnect for an anchor light. I'm going to hang my anchor light from the rigging. There really was no point of having a switch in here. To use it, I gotta have to go out there and plug it in anyway. So I'd rather use that circuit stuff for something else. Some of them are positive leads. Some of them are negative leads. Some of the grounds are going to be jumpered out there in a junction box forward. In fact, the masthead light, those two lights share a common ground. So I had to put 2 different flavors of connectors on because this inline fuse box takes these spade disconnects, and my DC bus requires rings. So the next thing is to label these up just so there's no confusion, at least their destination, so there's no confusion if I ever have to troubleshoot. Oh yeah, beer o'clock. I need a beer sponsor. I really do. Let's just review real quick. Oh. The door except for some final dressing, including securing this somehow and making some safety covers, is done. And what I'm going to do for safety covers, I'm not going to use that big vacuum form plastic thing for the AC panel. Excuse me. I'm going to make some PVC standoffs that will get screwed to the starboard door, and then they will have a Lexan. I got a pretty good sized chunk of clear Lexan, about it's not that thick, but it's thick enough. Each one of these is going to have its own clear Lexan section. One, because Lexan's non-conductive and it's very durable, and I have some, and also so one can see at a glance if there's a loose wire without having to go in there. And if one has to go in there, one can do it a panel at a time. I might even take another piece of clear Lexan and put it here where it won't interfere with the battery, just you know, at this, screwed into right into the frame here, so I can have some documentation, some like quick guides and schematics, little things like that. Who knows, I might even laminate them. I could go crazy. That could be a great project for the winter, perhaps. Okay, it's another day. It's Friday. I realized I kind of made a mistake here. I moved the bus panel, which uses a shared hot for up to, what is it, up to 8 fused circuits. I was going to use that for Navcom stuff, communications, GPS, eventually AIS, radar. How do I explain this? Well, some of you it may be obvious to some of you what I did wrong. I really need a fuse protection on each circuit for each of the running lights, like port and starboard side lights, the stern light, and the compass light. So those are currently they share a single switch on the panel, whereas the other navigation lights have their own switches. So the ones that have their own switches, steaming light, the deck light, which isn't really a nav light, but you know what I mean, anchor light, they're all going to go through straight through inline fuses because they have separate switches. Everything that doesn't have a switch, the ones I mentioned before, are going to hit this bus. So they'll be on the single nav lights or running lights breaker switch on the panel, but they'll still each have their own fuse. The reason being, I can't afford to lose all of them at once. That would be bad. And then have to take time to troubleshoot when there may be a reason why I want other people to see the boat and to see which way it's going and whether or not they're looking at the front of the boat or the back of the boat. So I had to move it over here so I wouldn't have to redo these. I don't have a lot of slack on this piece of 8 conductor left, so I can't really extend it to the other side. So I brought this over here. The only thing I'm going to have to extend is this. I'm probably just going to remake the hot feed from the panel for my GPS, for my chart plotter, and then bring more of this cable over to the other side, or maybe extend it, because it's kind of, I want to be able to mount it outside somewhere and also be able to bring it in here. But I think rather than pull some through, I can probably just extend it, splice some appropriate cable on the end of that, and then route it up and over the door to this panel. So let me get started on that. I decided to pull another 15-16 inches over. The multi-cable will still make it out to the compass binnacle, which is where I'm thinking about mounting that chart plotter. I got to get some kind of clamp that I can put on the yoke, instead of screwing it back down to the bridge deck where it was before. However, I really don't want to change this breakout. Maybe what I can do is, that's better. I'll finish dressing that later. I might have to reroute that guy, but for now, I'm just gonna tie him up there. Now we just have to finish everything that's going to be on the back side of this. I've made my colored chart. Cool. Would have been really sweet to make them different lengths and stagger them perfectly, but So this morning I decided to head over a couple of blocks from the boatyard to the park by the river and take a little walk in the woods. I'm going to do that in a minute. I just sat down here at this picnic table and ate my breakfast. I've been meaning to do this more often. I just usually don't feel like it, or I'll tell myself, oh, you don't have time to take a walk. But since I met Dayton, when I brought my boat here a couple of years ago, he was the second owner of the boat. I had no idea he would be here with his boat. Those who've been following the channel know more about that story, but it's kind of a crazy coincidence. But he inspired me to make an effort, because I would see him almost every day I've been here working on the boat. I would see him coming or going from this park. He'd walk all the way from the river, couple blocks, about maybe an eighth of a mile from the driveway of the boat shop into this park, where there's a couple of miles of trails. Very nice. And he'd have his daily constitutional. Not in terrible weather, but definitely not only on the nicest days, every day. In his mid-80s. And I'm thinking about him today and talking about him today because, unfortunately, he has passed on. Several weeks ago. I didn't know. I was so busy. I noticed that I hadn't seen him, but I didn't always catch him. I wasn't always outside the boat, and he didn't always take his walk at exactly the same time. It's sad news. I'm going to miss him. I'm pretty bummed out because the boat's launching in less than 3 weeks, and I know he was looking forward to seeing her in the water again, and I was thinking maybe he'd go sailing with me at some point, or at least, but that's not going to happen, except in spirit now. I feel no pity for him. I feel for his family and friends. He left a lot of people behind who are really going to miss him. A lot of people. He was well known on the East Coast for many years as a yacht broker, boat shop owner, yard owner, and owner of some pretty classic vessels like the boat I own now, and the boat he bought just after that, the scow schooner Nina, which is still here, still getting some work done on her. It's hard to pity him because he had a long, productive, enjoyable life, spent most of it, I think, as far as I know, doing exactly what he wanted to do on his own terms. And rather than go out lingering, ill, in pain, confined to a bed or a wheelchair, or the sort of thing that a lot of people in their 80s wind up dealing with, he remained independent, mobile. He went very quickly. Supposedly, I was told that he was in this very park. He was in the middle of, or just finished his walk. I don't think he was sitting here at this picnic table. I was told a bench overlooking the river. I think there's one down that way, a little ways. He sat down to have a look at the river, I guess, and his heart stopped. Gone, just like that. We should all be so lucky, really. So I don't feel sorry for him. I really don't. But I'm going to miss him. A lot of people are going to miss him. Anyway, that's that. When Ingrid told me, she apologized for not letting me know sooner. But she hasn't been around for almost 2 months. She had to go back to Australia to visit family, to take care of family stuff. And I was too busy with the boat anyway. It's probably for the best that I didn't find out, because at the time, I guess it would have been late July, I was really had my head in the boat, and it would have just distracted me. I found out yesterday afternoon. It did kind of put me on the back foot. Not with deep sadness or anything, but just, it makes you wistful. It's hard to concentrate on your work when you feel the need to pause and think about somebody you've just lost like that. I'm going to do a little bit of that this morning when I start my walk. I'm going to take a little stroll in memory of Dayton, and I'll be thinking about him a lot in the days to come, in the years to come, I hope. Many years, maybe, with Nina, with my Nina. Yeah,